All right, y'all. Today we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business. Going to check out its local search and its city search, see if it's got BSS for either of them. All right, so we're in the GBC universe, taking declining boudoir photographers to the number one boudoir photographer in their city. And our North Star, as always, is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we're rising, that means we're attracting, we're bringing in people across the entire intent ladder, high intent to low intent. If we're falling, we're missing peeps somewhere along the intent ladder. We're not successfully bringing them in, or even making them aware we exist. So, BSS, focusing here on this, this profile, this brand, focusing on the highest intent buyers, searching right now for boudoir photo shoots right in their city, social search and Google search. Then our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, focusing on BLCS. Right now, we're only working with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. And that's actually going to be the lowest intent people, in any location, but it's going to have the highest number of them. All right, so BSS is boudoir search sameness. That is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And as a result, if we got 0 slots, we're basically dead, kind of dead in the water for on page 2 or deeper. And that's because we already know that approximately 80% of Google searches are page 1 only Google searches. So they never even go to page 2. So we care about this 80% cohort. This is the bulk of the market. So if we're in 0 slots on page 1, we're invisible to them because they ain't clicking any page deeper at all. Now, if we got 1 slot on page 1, it's also as boudoir search sameness because we're looking the same as every other boudoir photographer. Everyone else on page 1's got most likely 1 link. So anyone going down the Google search, they're clicking us, they're clicking first link, second link, third link, all 10 links, opening up everyone, contacting everyone, getting a quote from everyone, price shopping everyone. And so boudoir search sameness, not good for us. Now, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is actually not normal, extremely common, but to have that few number of slots page 1 of Google is not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are 1, which many people know about, which is market saturation, and 2, which basically nobody knows about, is the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, it's when someone gets a new iPhone, all of a sudden they're throwing up, Google My Business profile, Google My Business profile, basically increasing and throwing up their website, competing more for page 1 dominance. Or they get a new camera, then they start posting them on Facebook groups. So basically they're increasing the supply of boudoir photographers where the number of buyers in the market remains fixed, which means it's making it harder for every current boudoir photographer to get clients. A big tsunami when that happened was when we had COVID. So when we had COVID, massive, when people lost their jobs, they still need to earn an income. So a lot of them came out as boudoir photographers, saturating the market, making it harder for all the current sellers. Now, the second deeper root cause is the false belief of page 1 equality. This is what I've seen is the number 1 killer of boudoir photography businesses. It's basically kind of this false belief is assuming that every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, as a result, we, if you got 1 slot, okay, got 1 slot on page 1 and get some more market saturation. All right, we're pushed down onto, basically we're pushed on to, page 2, but that's fine because every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots on page 1. So I guess it's not my time anymore. Hopefully they, they shut down their website. So maybe I got a chance to go back on page 1. But no, that is 100% incorrect. Google actually wants to give as many page 1 slots to the boudoir photographer that wants as many as they'll put in the effort to acquire. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 on Google in only 10 days. And so I know for a fact Google will give the slots to those who truly want them. Now, boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Because yeah, dude, basically we're either got 0 slots on page 1, so on page 2 or deeper. And again, approximately 80% of searchers. The bulk of the market ain't never going to see us because they're page 1 only. And then for 1 slot on page 1, we don't stand out. We're not different. We're being price shopped against everyone who also has, 1 slot on page 1. So what's the solution? We got the solution. BSS is treated with social search saturation, SQ'd methodology. We know this is a solution because we invented it. Again, this is what I used to go from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 in 10 days, Google page 1 search. And this is actually the only solution I've seen that can successfully fight back against market saturation. Basically, we saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, so we show up there. And once we saturate there, the outcome is actually that flows into those results actually flow onto Google page 1 or Google. And if we get enough signals, obviously that puts us a higher chance Google puts us at Google page 1. So the SQ'd methodology, to use it, we have to accept page 1 equality as a false belief, which kind of breaks that brain barrier to, okay, what's the solution we can use? SQ'd methodology. And it's the only thing that I've seen that actually can successfully fight back against market saturation for boudoir photographers, because imagine we're in San Jose, California. It's a million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got a website. We're one of the boudoir photographers. Everyone's trying to be ranked page 1 Google, but we employ SQ'd methodology to the max, where we're taking up the first 300 slots for social search on all the platforms for our highest intent buyer keywords, which then flows onto Google. And let's say we're the first 300 slots on Google for our highest intent keywords as well. Well, that means literally the first 30 pages is filled up with only us on Google organic search. And so when we have that, buyers got to go to page 31 to essentially find any other competitors, and no one's going to page 31. So buyers can essentially only find us. So even if there's max a ton of boudoir photographers, market's more and more saturated, we stay dominating page 1, which is actually where the bulk of searches stop. 80% of them, approximately 80% of them. So whose business is growing? Our business is growing. Whose business is disappearing? Everyone else. Even though the market's super saturated. Now, once treated with SQ'd methodology, we have page 1 visibility. Page 1 visibility is getting at least 2 out of 10 slots on page 1, where we're actually looking different. We do have a GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 though, 3 slots out of 10 slots. And once we actually achieve that, we get an extra bonus, which is for every new slot we take up on page 1, we're actually kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1, effectively making them invisible. So this is kind of an extra bonus of ranking on page 1, is we're actually kicking a competitor off page 1, and we already know approximately 80% of searchers never even go to page 2. So we effectively make our competitors invisible. But we do want to hit the GBC minimum of at least 3 out of 10. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So we don't have 0 out of 1. 0 slots on page 1. We don't have 1 slot on page 1. We do not have 2 slots on page 1. Well, 2 slots on page 1 means we don't have BSS, but that means we have not hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1. And we want to hit that because we actually if we got 3 out of 10 on page 1, we're kicking 2 competitors off, or maybe even 3. Also, we're going to look way more visible than simply having the people with one link, and very rarely will there be someone else with two links, but we'll look even better than them as well. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer. So we gotta get visible. So this is our universe here. We got disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by kind of the dual horns of market saturation and page one equality, the false belief of page one equality. And we achieve, or we utilize S-cube methodology. That's our solution. We achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. So my results using this is my own S-cubed methodology for myself. I wanted to rank for the keyword BLCS boudoir. So came in here, gonna look at the organic, and got organic slot 1, Instagram, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5, slot 6, slot 7, slot 8, and slot 10. But we got 9 out of 10 slots on Google here, simply from utilizing our S-cubed methodology. And this went from 0 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 in 10 days. So main event here now. I'm going to take a look at this boudoir photography business and see, basically see for its local search and city search, is that BSS, yes, no, for all of them, for one of them, or what? All right, so we're going to Virginia Beach. Okay, Virginia Beach, we're here. All right, boom, we got one. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 local. Let's go to city, closest, another city closest nearby. All right, so let's see. All right, we're at 0 out of 10 for city. All right, so local, we got 1 out of 10 slots, so we do a BSS. And city, we got 0 out of 10 slots, so yes, we got BSS for both. And also for both, we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google search. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer and you want to, so you've done the local searches, you've done your city search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in your city, you see, and you got 0 slots, page 1 on Google, either one or both of them, or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google for one or both of them, and you've accepted the belief, the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief, and you understand now that we can actually take as many page 1 slots on Google search as we want, and you see an S-cube methodology is the only way, the only path for you to get you there, and you've been waiting for something like S-cube methodology for a while, and you're liking the initial benefits, more slots, page 1 on Google, and you really like kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1 on Google, making them invisible to practically 80% of Google searches. You really like that one. Those initial benefits, sure. You understand the market saturation, yeah. New gear, new peeps, boudoir photographers entering all the time, getting more and more difficult over all the time. And you're seeing that, you're actually looking ahead and you're seeing AI taking more and more people's jobs. And the last time that happened with COVID, people losing jobs, well, people still had to earn money. So they were actually forced to become boudoir photographers because, everyone's got a superpowered smartphone with a superpowered camera. So kind of the next natural thing, become boudoir photographer. And you're seeing that's going to happen in a much bigger wave over the, as AI takes more and more people's jobs. So not only do you need these slots in Google, you actually need like so many backup links that Google wants to rank on page 1 for you, but there's not enough room, so they're ranking you page 2, 3, and 4. Like basically you need to fortify your positions on page 1 with like so many backup links that no current competing boudoir photographer ever has any chance to rank on page 1, nor any future competing boudoir photographer who came in because AI took their job can ever have a chance of ranking on page 1. And kind of like fortifying your position, kind of like fortifying the levees down in Nolens, Louisiana, the lowest because the city is actually below sea level. And you're seeing SQ methodology is the only thing that can help you fortify your position with so many backup links that are needed. You're also understanding that the SQ methodology, we're building up basically invisible thematic keyword columns around kind of attached to your brand name, business name, website name, social handles names, kind of like this whole, keyword cluster ecosystem in the back end of AI Mindshare. And every day we successfully execute SQ methodology and add to those invisible thematic keyword columns that we're actually increasing the probability we show up here in AI overview, the most premium placement out there that we cannot pay for, and Google can recommend us here. We're also increasing the probability every single day of executing SQ methodology that AI search recommends us. So it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability showing up in those searches every single day. We successfully execute SQ methodology. And last time I searched for boudoir photographer in a city, it was with ChatGPT and it displayed 3. And I went and manually searched on Google and Facebook, and dude, there were like 60. So you're saying, and I was like, man, we gotta get part of these slots any way possible. So you're actually wanting to all those feature benefits as well as estimated 8x faster growing a brand, a large well-known brand, to further insulate yourself from market saturation. And you also understand that my current plan is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. And as a result, you're seeing you can get all these benefits and most importantly, build up so much kind of like back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keyword columns attached to your brand and AI mindshare space that you are able to build up a gap so large that basically no current competing boudoir photographer can ever reach you, nor any future competing boudoir photographer coming from AI, because AI took their job, can ever catch you. So you decided to be a first mover in your city, take advantage of this because the converse, whoever a competing boudoir photographer actually signs on with me first in your same city, means we're going to be kicking you off page 1, maybe even page 2. You'll be resigned to page 3 or deeper. And we'll be fortifying them on page 1, so your chance of getting back up page 1 will be close to 0. And the boudoir photographers come from AI taking their jobs, their normal jobs, and they have become boudoir photographers. That's always going to keep increasing, so it may push you off deeper into further and further pages. And we'll actually be building up a massive gap of AI mindshare, back-end AI mindshare with all these invisible thematic keyword columns that will probably be too large for you to overcome. And for you to overcome that, you'd have to actually rederive SQ methodology by yourself. Well, you'd have to derive it the first time, and you would never feel 100% confident you've derived it correctly the first time. Then you'd have to execute it every single day, same as us. But if you did all that, you'd simply be maintaining the gap, me and your competitor, that large gap, me and your competitor would have already built up against you. So in order to close that gap and to kind of pull that invisible thematic keyword column back into AI mindshare towards you away from us, you'd probably have to double or triple our execution every single day. And it'll be difficult to put in that effort because, again, you're not going to feel 100% confident you've even derived the methodology correctly in the first place. And dude, who even has 80 days to do or 80 hours in a day to do all this stuff? So you're seeing all that and you're like, screw this. I'm actually going to be the first mover in my city, get the advantage, and lock out all my competitors from using this technology. So if that's you, shoot us a DM. Our DMs are currently closed. The hospital's not currently accepting new patients. But when our DMs do open, then shoot us a DM and we will see if you qualify for utilizing S cubed methodology.